In 1997, my hometown, Nashua, New Hampshire, was labeled the best place to live in the United States. It's a small, beautiful city of cultures from all around the world, a melting pot of hopeful immigrants raising new families and natives who have called New Hampshire home for centuries. If you were to visit today, you could enjoy our beautiful parks, get a bagel on Main Street, or everyone's favorite part, enjoying our no sales tax shopping. Visitors are usually mesmerized by its incredible beauty, which is why it's difficult for people to believe that such a kind place is America's ground zero for the opioid epidemic. It's true. Under the beautiful layer that visitors get to enjoy is a dark truth of substance abuse and addiction tearing apart communities and families. In 2015, over 400 people died of overdose-related deaths, a 250% increase from 2011. But that is just a surface of the effect that the opioid epidemic has had. Underneath the layer of overdose rates that has caught the world's attention is a community of youth that have been neglected and forgotten. Children are losing family members, seeing addiction and drugs in their own homes and negligence of the issues they face has allowed a culture of teen drug abuse to breed. As the National Institute of Teen Drug Abuse reports, New Hampshire youth consistently rank in the top 5 US states with the highest teen cocaine, heroin, and prescription drug abuse. The question that people from New Hampshire have been asking themselves for years is, why us? And unfortunately, it's impossible to answer this question accurately. But the Dartmouth Center for Technology and Behavioral Health points to 3 that contribute significantly. The first, prescription. Medical institutions in New Hampshire prescribe opioids at a much higher rate than the national average while having the least funded per capita treatment facilities to give care to those who need rehabilitation. The second is accessibility. The ease of access to drugs is so incredibly high and only getting worse. As Dr. Lisa Marsh at Dartmouth reports, a new drug, fentanyl, which can be made in homes and be sold for less than a 6-pack of beer, is making the prevention of its distribution nearly impossible. But surprisingly, it's a third one, social, that contributes the most to New Hampshire's vulnerability. Dartmouth CTBH finds that the rural nature of New Hampshire towns combined with the reclusive culture has created an environment where people don't really build large social groups and don't really build long-lasting, healthy relationships with the people around them. To understand why this contributes so significantly to New Hampshire's vulnerability, we have to understand how addiction itself really works. An amazing exemplification of this is an experiment done by psychologist Bruce Alexander called the Rat Park. In this, he creates 2 cages. The first one, with just 1 rat, nothing to do, no one else, and given 2 water bottles. 1 normal, and 1 laced with morphine. Consistently, this rat would become addicted to the morphine water and die of an overdose. But Alexander extended his experiment and created a rat park, a community of rats that could play together, toys that they could use, and the same 2 water bottles, normal and 1 laced with morphine. But in this rat cage, rarely would a rat become addicted to the morphine water. This experiment shows us that a social environment, or a lack of, can contribute significantly to addiction. As Johann Hari, a journalist, puts it, the opposite of addiction is not sobriety, but connection. What Dartmouth CTBH's findings about the lack of social environment New Hampshire tells us, combined from what we learned from the Rat Park experiment, is that the rural natures of New Hampshire towns literally makes it just like the first rat cage. So how do we solve that? How do we make people connect more? A possible solution? Positive psychology. Positive psychology is defined as a study of what makes life worth living. What keeps a person ticking? Is it friends, family, goals, a sense of belonging? It's subjective on each person and it varies, but using positive psychology, a person can help a patient understand what keeps them going. And a large part of it is mindfulness. Being mindful to yourself, to the people around you, to your environment, which is basically understanding things for the way they are and appreciating them rather than judging them negatively. So what does that mean? Well, before we delve in further to the applications of positive psychology in New Hampshire, let's do a brief demonstration. So I ask everyone to close their eyes. And I want you to slow down your breath and count your breaths with me. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And now in your mind, I want you to imagine a thing or a person or a place that you're thankful for. And in your mind, I want you to tell that thing that you're appreciative of it and that you are so blessed to have it in your life. And once you've done that, open your eyes. That is a very brief demonstration of what a positive psychology session would look like. Essentially, the goal of positive psychology is to integrate a mentality of positive thinking and appreciation into a person's life. And this is done mostly by looking into 5 main methods. The first, deliberate breathing that we just did, then meditation, mind and mental games, communication, and practicing gratitude. And through these 5 methods, we focus on 6 main pillars of positive psychology. The first is self-awareness, understanding who you are, what your needs are, the things you value and the things you're thankful for. Then self-regulation. Are you taking care of yourself? Are you eating 3 meals a day? Are you sleeping enough? Are you meeting your daily goals and your long-term goals? The next is optimism. Taking the people around you, the events around you, and interpreting the good out of it. Fourth, mental agility, keeping your mind quick, focused, and coordinated. Fifth, strengths of character, taking the characteristics you want to see in your own life and practicing them, like confidence, kindness, temperance. The sixth is connection, the most important and the foundation. Building long-lasting relationships with the people around you, whether they're peers, coworkers, friends, family. And if you can practice these 6 things in your life, you'll reap the benefits of resilience and building connection. Because positive psychology has been proven to be able to do both of those things. But often, positive psychology is misunderstood to be a pseudoscience. How could such a thing work? And it really isn't. For many years, it has been used to treat ADHD and clinical depression and anxiety. Studies by the University of Pennsylvania show that it reduces symptoms of depression and anxiety, improves mental health, and reduces addiction and dependency on substances. And everyone who went through positive psychology training reported being able to build healthier and longer-lasting relationships with the people around them. But when applied to children, UPenn's adolescent training program found that young students were also able to build much larger and healthier social groups, and it cut in half the rate of moderate to severe depression and anxiety symptoms. And Dr. Himmelstein at the Center of Behavioral Health found that in youth, there was a decrease in impulsivity and substance craving. But the most fascinating thing was that when tested 2 years after, all the benefits were proven to continue, showing that it's long-lasting effects. So what does this mean? We know the benefits of positive psychology. We know the characteristics of places like New Hampshire and what makes them vulnerable to opioid epidemics. So could a possible long-term preventative strategy to the opioid epidemic be to train youth at at-risk cities like Nashua in positive psychology? The answer is, we don't know. What we do know is that positive psychology has been used for years to treat addiction. It improves mental health and helps build healthy relationships in small quantities, but never has it been used as a tool to fight the opioid epidemic at the city level. But the research is there, and professors agree that such a program could work. So that's exactly what we tried to do this year. I worked with a few organizations, a group of high school students, and we trained high school volunteers in positive psychology. And then once a week, for an hour a day, they would go to elementary schools and middle schools and teach young students, elementary and middle school students, in positive psychology. They do the sessions like we just did, the deliberate breathing. They have ample time to play group activities and to socialize. And we asked the volunteers to focus on 5 main principles during the meetings. The first is mindful self. The belief that a volunteer cannot be an effective teacher without first embracing the ideas of positive psychology into their own life. Second is mindful system, using the ideas of positivity and appreciation to create a welcoming environment for all the students. Third is mindful awareness instruction, taking those elements of positivity and appreciation and bringing it to their interactions with the students. Mindful integration is teaching the students positive psychology through the sessions, teaching them how to be positive, how to be appreciative, how to be mindful, which leads us to the last one, mindful living, how to bring that mentality of positive thinking and appreciation into their daily lives, the essential goal of positive psychology. So they do this once a week for a full year, but how do we know if it's working? To find out, we created a series of 6 benchmark assessments. Self-esteem, goals, optimistic view of the world, independence from social influences, strengths of character, and optimistic view of people. And each one corresponds to an activity that the volunteers would run with the students, and then we teach them how to evaluate their responses on a scale of 1 to 5. And if they're able to show progress in our benchmark assessments versus the group of students who didn't go through the training, that means that the training is effective. And since the benchmark assessments correspond directly to the 6 pillars of positive psychology we went through earlier, this means that showing progress in the benchmark assessments means progress in integrating positive psychology into their own lives. Meaning that the training, if progress is shown, would be an effective long-term strategy. And from there, the city can bring this into the education system. Bring the training of positive psychology to every single student so that every single person who graduates from the Nashua public school education system would be trained in positive psychology. It's an innovative and unique approach to make a city more resilient from the ground up, to stop addiction and dependency on substances before it starts. But there's many things that cause the opioid epidemic, and this is and could just be a drop in the bucket of solutions. It's a complex issue with no easy solution, and the biggest adversity New Hampshire has had to face in decades. But until we all come together and put our drops into the bucket, our community, our friends, and our families can't hope for a better future. In a divided world, New Hampshire is a unique place. It asks us to forget religion, politics, and race, and to come together to be part of and help something bigger than ourselves. Our strength is in our unity, and our future is in the community we build. Thank you.